The latest 7-star Tera raid is coming to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Are you ready for Greninja? Let's break it down. All right, if you guys been sleeping under a crustal, Greninja drops tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time or 0 UTC on January 27th, and it's going until the 31st. But if you miss this wave, you'll have another chance at it February 10th to the 13th. This will be a 7-star Poison Tera raid for Greninja the Unrivaled, and a lot of people are very excited about this coming off of Cinderace and Charizard being kind of the cornerstone Tera raid so far since Scarlet and Violet dropped. I'm going to break down some different ideas on how you can prepare and get yourself ready for this Greninja raid dropping tonight so you guys are ready to go and ultimately can take it down. I've got some strategies for singles, some strategies for working with a team. I think ultimately you'll be in a good spot and you can use some of the resources you might have used from other Tera raids to ultimately come out on top. Now, unfortunately, until the raid actually drops, we don't have all the details on it, but we can make some really educated guesses based on the previous events. So a couple things to note is generally these come with their hidden abilities. In Greninja's case, there's two potential options here. Protein, which is the ability to change its typing based on the attack it goes for, which is essentially irrelevant given the fact that this is a Poison Tera raid, so it's going to be Poison type. Or Battle Bond, which was updated in this game. Now it gives you an attack, special attack, and speed boost if you knock something out, but it's a one-time effect, and there's no transformation if I'm not mistaken. So I'm expecting it to be one of those two. I don't think it's going to be entirely relevant here. It's more so what you're going to get after the fact. They did obviously change Battle Bond, so that's just something to note. One thing about Greninja, though, that makes it challenging in this regard is that it has a very, very vast move pool. It can run a lot of different things. In fact, it has one of the most diverse move pools in Pokemon history, covering moves like Water Shuriken. In the case of Poison types, you've got Gunk Shot, which I think is very relevant here. Ice Beam, U-Turn, Extra Sensory. That's just the tip of the iceberg. You've got things like Dark Pulse and much, much more. Generally speaking, this thing can hit from almost every angle from an offensive perspective, and it's obviously very fast. Greninja rocks one of the fastest speed stats in the game, but it's pretty frail, so you can probably take that into your advantage. I think one of the best ways to go about this raid is to buff yourself, debuff the Greninja by dropping its stats, and then just going for one big blow into it with a powerful attack. That's generally what you're going to want to do with these raids. That's generally how these raids are most effective. You really take the opportunity to set up, get your screens up, get your stat boosts up, your sword stances or whatever it might be, and then just go for one big hit to try to knock it out. I think that that's usually your best bet. One thing to make note of here, though, is that this thing could start off the raid with something like a double team or a smoke screen to make it a little harder to hit. That could actually be one of the more frustrating approaches to make this a difficult raid because you're dealing with accuracy and things like that. But let's break down some of these Pokemon that might be useful to take on Greninja as a Poison type Tera raid. So I did a lot of Googling. I found a lot of cool resources and references from other creators, so I'll mention them as well, as they had these ideas too, right? A lot of people came up with similar ideas. Pokemon Cast had a really cool idea regarding Clodsire. Clodsire learns the move Acid Spray, which is an attacking move that drops special defense by 2 stages. Even though it's not going to do a lot of damage initially, you're going to drop the special defense of Greninja and then hit it even harder with things like Earth Power. Clodsire also has some sustainability through its ability Water Absorb, allowing it to take potential Water Shurikens or Hydro Pumps effectively. It obviously resists those Poison type moves, but still has weaknesses, right? It can still get hit with a Psychic move, it can still get hit with an Ice move, so it's not a perfect counter per se. It does have Recover though to stay alive, and you can use things like Chilling Water to drop Greninja's attack stat. One of the things that makes this a little trickier though is the fact that Greninja could be physical or special. We tend to think it's going to be special because of Water Shuriken, but it could be either or, so it could be mixed as well. It could have both, so just be mindful of that. Like, we really don't know if it's going to attack on the physical or special side. Once we do, you'll adjust your team accordingly to that. With Clodsire, you have a couple ideas too. If it ends up being a physical attacker, you can go the Curse route. You could use Curse and Earthquake to boost your defense up and then hit it really hard with Earthquake after dropping its stats. You could also go with something like Amnesia to boost your own special defense so you can tank those hits better. That's more of a strategy you're going to want to utilize with a partner though. Gastrodon functions very similarly, right? It's got the Storm Drain, so if it gets hit by a water move, it actually is going to make it stronger. You can fire off things like Earth Power to hit it really hard. If you want to hit it from the physical side, obviously you would use Earthquake, but I think with Storm Drain, you're better off there. You also have Recover as well, and Clear Smog if this thing starts boosting up for some reason. You have some different options between Clodsire and Gastrodon that function very similarly again. Gastrodon's nice because you don't worry about the ice and the, the weakness to ice and the weakness to poison, but I think Clodsire and, Ice and Psychic but I think Clodsire in general is probably the better option. Skunktank's another one that I think is interesting. You have things like Snarl to drop its special attack if it's a special attacker. You have things like Acid Spray where you can drop its special defense, and then you can kind of chip away at it that way and just kind of focus on sustainability and really reducing the damage output from the Greninja. But I like some of these other ideas. I saw Reversal had mentioned a few different ideas. These are some of the ones that I'm really digging. Lucario, this is more of a solo strategy. If it runs Rain Dance, you can run Sunny Day to kind of reduce the power of those different water type moves. You can run Screech to drop its defense stat, Swords Dance to boost your attack stat. You get it to -6 defense, your attack to +6, and then you go for a big Earthquake, and you'll deal a lot of damage. You should one-shot the Greninja. So that's a single-player strategy. If you're playing with some friends, you could set up a Light Screen or Reflect or Helping Hand you or kind of give you some support by healing you, like a Heal Pulse. Some of those strategies could be really useful. Something like a Slow King or a Slow Bro could work really well with the Heal Pulse strategies there in a team setting. Fluttermane's another one. Fluttermane was mentioned by Reversal. I think one of the things about Fluttermane, though, is if this Greninja is a physically attacking Greninja, it is going to blow Fluttermane back. But if it's a special attacking Greninja, I actually think Fluttermane has some viability here because you could use things like Stored Power to hit it super effectively, Fake Tears to drop its special defense, Calm Mind to boost your own special defense and special attack, and then Draining Kiss for a little bit of survivability, even though it's resisted. I would say that Fluttermane tends to go on the back burner here, but it's worth mentioning just because a lot of people already have Fluttermane prepared. Like, we know that a lot of people have Fluttermane prepared, so if you have it prepared, it might be worth tweaking it as an easy solution to potentially deal with Greninja. From there, one of my favorite options is Klefki, believe it or not. Klefki rocks Prankster, which can help it hit very, very quickly, getting those stat boosts before the opponent moves. And in the case of Greninja, you can invest all of your kind of efforts into bulk, essentially, for Klefki. Iron Defense will boost your physical defense if you need it. Calm Mind will boost your special defense if you need it. Metal Sound will drop their special defense. And Stored Power will take advantage of all the stat boosts that you gain through Iron Defense and Calm Mind. I actually feel like Klefki could be one of the biggest sleeper options for this raid, and it's one of the Pokemon that I personally am going to be looking at the most in terms of how I approach this raid, right? Like, I think Klefki is the first thing I go for, in my opinion, because I really do think in a solo setting, you should have no problems being able to, if it's physical, deal with the Iron Defenses, if it's special, get those Calm Minds up. With a little bit of recovery or cheering, any sort of support from a teammate, you'll be in decent shape. You can Metal Sound it down to drop its special defense, and then again, hit really hard with a Stored Power. The other thing I like about Klefki is you can still function with it if you wanted to go like the Light Screen Reflect route too, right? Like if you wanted to just keep your team safe, you can utilize those options as well. Just, you know, kind of boost things up and kind of go from there. Some other supporter type Pokemon that you could look at would be like an Umbreon. Umbreon with Snarl can drop the special attack if it's a special attacker. You've obviously got options to screens with some of these Pokemon. Rotom's another one that I saw mentioned. Rotom Wash particularly. So there's a lot of different options, right? I think with any of these raids, until the actual raid drops, it's always a little tough to say exactly what's going to be the best fit. But I think that this will get you started. It'll get you in a really good direction to know what you need to bring. So if it's me, the first thing I'm building is that Klefki. I really like that set. I think Iron Defense, Calm Mind gives you a lot of protection. Metal Sound dropping its stats, Stored Power hitting it really, really hard. I really like that idea. I liked Reversal's Lucario idea. And then I think Clodsire is definitely worth considering, but I do feel like that Greninja probably has Extra Sensory or Ice Beam or something to hit on that side, so just be super mindful. Otherwise, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't anticipate this to be too much of a struggle for most people. I think if it does open the gates with like a double team or a smoke screen, it might be a little bit more annoying than otherwise, but Greninja's a very frail Pokemon, so if you're able to take the hits and weaken its stats and then boost your own stats and then hit it with a big blow like most people handle these raids, I don't think it's going to be too big of a problem. If you enjoyed this video, like it down below and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Check out this video over here if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys next time.